There is a 15% drop in the open rate of Instagram. You're the PM. Tell us what could have happened. Welcome to ProdSchool, and today we are wearing the hat of PM for Instagram. Today we have a metric change question in front of us, which is a subtype of product metric question. Basically, metric interview questions test if candidates can perform data analysis and select key metrics that matter most to the success of the product. Most employers out there, they use these questions to evaluate critical thinking and communication skills. Metric change questions test if you know what to do when a key product metric, for example, traffic, revenue, engagement, etc., is going up or down for no apparent reason. For example, Facebook newsfeed engagement is down 10%. How would you report this issue to the CEO? Now, this is a typical example of a product metric change question. There are many different reasons why this decrease might be happening, and your interviewer will want to see you take a bulletproof approach to find the root cause of the issue. A common mistake candidates make when answering metric questions is to provide an unstructured answer. In this next section, we'll walk through a step-by-step approach you can use to avoid that pitfall specifically for metric change questions. Let's get started. We use a three-step approach to help you give a clear and thorough answer to metric change questions. Let's walk through each of these three steps one by one. Step 1 is define the metric change. Many candidates, they go ahead and skip this step and start listing ideas in an unstructured way. This is a big red flag for your interviewers. Before starting to answer the question, you need to define the metric change in detail. This often entails asking for three pieces of information. 1, the exact definition of the metric we are talking about. 2nd, the time period over which the metric has changed. 3rd, the characteristics of the user segment impacted by the change. For example, device type, country, gender, etc. Now, step 2 is to explore possible root causes of the change. Now, interviewers, they want to see that you are thinking of every possible problem which could cause the metric change you are investigating. In order to ensure you are thinking comprehensively and communicating clearly, you should 1. Create a MECE framework for possible root causes. 2nd, brainstorm potential root causes to the problem within this framework. 3rd, discuss the different root causes identified with the interviewer. Generally, one can split their investigation between internal and external factors. Internal factors include possible problems internal to the organization that can explain the drop in sessions. External problems represent the other side, which is possible problems external to the organization or the product that can explain the drop in sessions. Note that the framework above is MECE, mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. The root cause of the problem has to be internal or external, as there is no other option. Once you have created your framework, you need to brainstorm ideas and possible causes within each of the areas you identified. The interviewer will most likely stop you to talk about some of the proposed root causes, which is perfectly normal. Listen carefully to what they say, as they will often provide clues that will point you in the right direction. Step 3 is finally go ahead and conclude. Finally, you should conclude by summarizing your findings related to the initial question you were asked. Now that you know how to approach metric change questions, let's apply this approach to our question for the day. Now at this point, I would request all of you to go ahead and pause the video and try answering the question by typing your response in the comments below. Be sure to follow the appropriate method above. Play both the role of the interviewer and the candidate. This is a great opportunity to gain some practice for your PM interviews. The key is to answer the question without seeing other people's answers. Alright, so here we go with one approach to the problem. So there is a 15% drop in open rate of Instagram, and you, being the PM, has to find out what could have happened. So step 1, as always, is to ask some good clarification questions. First, we want to completely understand the question and define the metric, as open rate is a bit vague. Here are some questions that immediately come to mind and will help confirm our understanding. What exactly do we mean by open rate here? Does it mean increase in inactive users, that is users not even opening the application once in a day, or does it mean reduction in repeat opens, that is users not opening multiple times in a day? Second, is this impacting all user segments or maybe only a particular device type or country or browser? Is it happening across gender identities? Is it on a specific platform, Android or iOS, etc.? Is it happening gradually or did it happen all of a sudden? Let's imagine the interviewer tells us that it's happening across platform, across geography and across gender, and that this has happened gradually over the past 6 months. Next, I'll have more clarification questions around data and tooling. First is around data precision. Has the metric definition changed recently? The second is around reporting tool. Have we checked this dip compared to a similar metric, for example, time on page? Basically, the idea is there anything else out there indicating that our reporting tool might be broken? Third, is the issue contextual? That is the drop due to an artificial spike? For example, on New Year's Eve, the number of app open shot up drastically and then it normalizes, thus simulating a drastic drop. The last one is around product changes. Is it possible we shipped some code that introduced a bug, or did we release any significant feature changes in the recent time? So in this case, we'll assume that our interviewer informs us that none of the above has happened. So now that we know the exact problem, we can go ahead and create a framework to identify the decrease in the open rate of Instagram application. So one is the internal factors, that are possible problems internal to Instagram that can explain the drop in the open rate. And the external factors represent the possible problems external to Instagram that can explain the drop in the open rate. Now, as always, note that the above framework is messy. The root cause of the problem has to be either internal or external. There is no other option. So within the internal-external framework, let's brainstorm different root causes. Some of the internal factors can include 1. Crashes. Any app update which led to crashes. The metrics to track here would be crash rate, ANR, average load time. Second is around, has there been any change in behavior of users? Third, has there been any user complaints? Here you have to check with customer support, Play Store reviews, etc. Now, a simple approach for this particular metric would be to check the Play Store rating and reviews and do a sentiment analysis on reviews with rating 1, 2 or 3. The other one is to identify the number of complaint tickets raised. Now, some of the external factors include 1. Promotions. Did we run ads which led to an inorganic boost in open rate and then the subsequent drop? To check this metric, we have to identify the last open date and the number of times app is opened in a day for users whose install source was promotion. And the last one is around competitor shift. Did we see any big changes in our competition? Now let's imagine the interviewer says that the drop is due to change in behavior of user. Now this is sort of interesting, but we need to investigate further as we are getting closer. Now that we know that it's the users who are responsible for the problem, let's investigate how users actually use Instagram. What are the core activities a user performs on Instagram? The first is feed interaction, where you go ahead and check your feed. The second is direct messaging, where you chat with your friends. The third is where you go ahead and check your friend's profile or photos. The fourth is where you check your friends of friends, their profiles, and you go ahead and follow them. The fifth is around posting a photo or a video or upload, where you take a photo, you go ahead and apply certain filters, you add some metadata, example text, hashtag, location, etc. And the last one is when a user searches their own profile. Now again, we'll wait for a clue from the interviewer. So let's say that the interviewer informs you that majority of the users are consumers, while only 1% are actually posters. And hence majority of the time spent by user is on the feed interaction activity. Rest of the activities are actually smaller. Now this just means that there is a change in behavior on feed interaction. By the way, if the interviewer does not tell you what to do here, Pick one or two of these specified activities and assume for yourself that they form most of the overall feed interaction per user. You can't be randomizing yourself by thinking about 6 different things, hence focus on one or two things and make your reasoning stronger so as to why. Next, now that we know there is a change of user behavior pertaining to feed interaction, you need to define the metrics that you need to check, including 1. Number of posts scrolled. 2nd. Time spent on feed. 3rd. Liking a particular post. 4th. Comments on particular posts. 5th. Stories opened. 6th. DM and chat with his or her friends. 7th. Number of user pages opened in a session. And the last, number of follows per user in a day. Now, possible causes for less open rate could be case 1, where it takes time to load new posts. This could be due to bad network or some network outage. Case 2, where posts that are appearing on the feed are no more interesting or exciting, which leads to a lesser open rate. Daily or repeat opens in a day are actually decreasing in this particular case. Now, considering the fact that 15% is a very large chunk and not all of the users can have bad network, we should be moving forward with case 2, which seems to be the possible reason since 99% of users are consumers. So let's dive deeper. What constitutes my feed? 1 is my friends' posts, and the 2nd is influencer posts, which are celebrities I follow. Now, for the interview, I'm going with an assumption that influencers are the one who drive the open rate because they post more often and they have a good pull effect. Generally, the interviewer will walk you to a possible cause, but in our case, we are assuming there is a problem with influencer posts. Now, there can be 2 plausible causes here. 1, influencer has started posting less engaging content. Now, for this, the key metrics to check will include 1, trend, which is number of likes, comments on influencers. 2nd, number of reported spam, where we can go ahead and do a sentiment analysis on number of abusive comments or dislikes on those particular posts. Plausible cause could be that the influencer hasn't been active or they are posting less content. Now here, the key metric to check would be number of posts per day for top influencers, let's say the top 1000 influencers. Now finally, we'll go ahead and conclude by providing some improvements. Now possible improvements could be 1, changes in the sorting algorithm, where you can go ahead and boost a post which is getting more engagement, or you can check the growth rate of likes which is increasing as a trend for the user who you follow and promote it up. Another change to be recommended will be to demote the inactive or less engaging content. At the same time, another suggestion could be around other influencers to follow, which will in turn help user generate other interests so that the user can follow something else as well. So now that we have gone through the 3 steps of our framework, we should go ahead and conclude by saying something like, based on our investigation, I would explain to the leadership team that the app open rate has dropped by 15% over last 6 months because of less influencer engagement, which has negatively affected the user time on the feed. The content is less engaging, hence the users are leaving the application soon. Finally, we could enrich our answer by saying something such as, we have also double-checked that no other drivers were causing this engagement dip. A good next step here would probably to change the sorting algorithm to bring contextualization for users, where you can go ahead and boost posts to get more engagement. At the same time, we should be suggesting other influencers to follow and help the users generate other interests so that the user can follow something else as well. Alright, so we took a look at a sample product metric question and how you can go ahead and answer that. However, a common question from folks is how do they practice product management interview questions? So here is our recommended approach. It's best to take a systematic approach to make the most of your practice time, and we recommend the following. 1. Learn a consistent method for answering metric questions. So in this article, we have outlined a step-by-step method you can use to solve metric questions. We would encourage you to first memorize the basic steps and then try solving a couple of the sample questions on the paper. This will help you to understand the structure of a good answer. Now, this is a good first step, but just knowing the method is not enough. You'll also need to be able to apply these steps in interview conditions. Hence, the second step is to practice by yourself or with your peers. A great way to practice the method for solving metric questions is to interview yourself out loud. This may sound strange, but it's an excellent way to improve the way you communicate your answers during an interview. Play the role of both the candidate and the interviewer, asking questions and answering them just like two people would in an interview. Thank you for your time. I hope you really liked this particular video. Please make sure that if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat down below and we'll respond to each and every one of them. I hope you like this video and I see you in the next one.